In January 2022, LEGO Star Wars released the Microfighter Razor Crest for just $10. It was very affordable. However, it wasn't the first rodeo with a Razor Crest for LEGO Star Wars, as in the summer of 2020, they released this Playscale Razor Crest for just $130. Recent price increase brought it to $140 as its retail price. But now, in late 2022, LEGO has released an Ultimate Collector Series version of the Razor Crest for $600. Seeing this is the only time in human history that all three of these LEGO Star Wars Razor Crest sets will be available on shelves alongside each other, I just had to take the opportunity to help you guys decide whether you should buy a $10 Razor Crest, a $100 Razor Crest, or a $600 Razor Crest. And I think one of these three models isn't worth buying at all. Don't forget to hit the like button on this one and comment below which Razor Crest is your favorite and why. The packaging and unboxing experience for our $10 Razor Crest is pretty straightforward. We got a thumb tab, pop it open, pull it open, and we get just some plastic bags inside, nothing special on them, not even a numbered bag in there. It's so small. We have one singular instruction manual. This one ought to take you 10 or 20 minutes to build. I mean, it's as simple as they come. Now, when it comes to our $140 set, it's more of the same, just a couple of tape seals instead of thumb tabs this time to get through, and we're in. You'd never believe there's plastic bags inside. So we received numbered bags to make the building process a little bit easier. It'll still probably take you a couple hours to build this one at least. We do have the windshield piece that is outside of the bags, and then our sticker sheet and instruction manual comes wrapped in plastic to help protect them from getting really bent out of shape. When you open the $600 UCS box, you're greeted with some concept art from The Mandalorian with Din Djarin and Grogu and the Razor Crest. You'll get two numbered boxes that split the build in half, all with different beautiful concept art images on them. That's just not something you get in the cheaper LEGO Star Wars sets, so obviously something very cool to have here. Now, you'll get your standard numbered bags, but instead of a plastic bag for your instructions, it does come in this little cardboard sleeve, and the instructions are a little bit ugly looking in my opinion, with this yellow color compared to just the normal box art for the other two set instructions. The only thing good I can say about it is that it does stand out and it is unique. The real difference for the instructions with the $600 Razor Crest is that it does give you a pretty good read about the set and the Razor Crest from The Mandalorian. When it comes to minifigures, there's only one character shared across all three sets, and that of course is the Mandalorian. And it is incredibly ironic that in the $10 Razor Crest, you get a better figure than in the $140 Razor Crest. He has arm printing, and the $140 Mando does not. So that's kind of sad to me. Now, I will say there does seem to be a bigger issue on these Beskar Mandos with the downshift in the helmet print versus on the regular Mando there. It seems to be in the proper spot. So that is definitely something the $140 set seems to get right more than the $10 set. Low quality for sure. But the lack of arm printing on the $140 figure is incredibly obvious and unfortunate given that the $10 figure and the $600 figure both get arm printing. Speaking of that $600 minifig here, it is just gorgeous. Get that $10 figure out of here. I mean, you can see they have added on arm printing from that $140 figure. It is otherwise the same minifig though as far as the torso and legs go, just the exact same prints there. You're just adding on some arm printing with a different color arm with the dark gray arm versus just the brown arms. The helmets are another area where they really spice it up for the $140 version, adding in a lot more detail on top and just kind of thinning out the visor to make it look better versus the older Mando helmet prints. So I think just generally everything is better on the more expensive figure, as it probably should be. You know, you're paying more money, you should be getting something better. And when we look underneath each helmet, you'll see that the only Mando with an actual face is the version in the $600 set. Now, there's a $60 set with the Mandalorian in the N1 Starfighter that does come with the face as well, so the $600 set isn't the only way to get his face. As far as other minifigs in each set go, of course, in the $10 set, you only get the one Mando in Beskar armor. With the $140 set, you get 5 characters total with Grogu, the Mandalorian. Is that Steve Harvey? No. That's Grief Karga. There we go, much better. And then we have IG-11 and a Scout Trooper. Love the Scout Trooper. Feel like he could have used the speeder bike in this set, but it wasn't included. And then for the $600 Razor Crest, you only get 4 characters, so 1 character less than the $140 set. But this time, Grogu comes with the pram, which is amazing. We get Queel for the first time in a set, and he does come with the blurg, which the teeth look a little bit awkward for, but it is a blurg for the first time ever in LEGO Star Wars. We do get the Mythrol, but I do feel like he's a bit of a failure as a minifigure. I really feel like they should have have done a sculpted molded head like they did for Queel. I think it just doesn't look good on a regular minifigure head. And of course the Din Djarin, and I didn't mention, but he does come with the hairpiece. So overall, I think the best minifig selection is the $600 UCS one, despite not liking the head for the Mithril. Close second being for the $140 version, and of course it's hard to compete at $10. Now, when it comes to play experience for the two larger models here, the $140 set is a great swooshable playset. You can even pick it up just by the little tail end here, and it's strong enough to be held like that. It's pretty crazy sturdy, and you can even grab it by the sides to actually swoosh it around and fly it around like a playset. It's really great like that, and it's even got some pretty malleable landing gear, so you can just kind of drop it down. It'll be fine. The UCS set, on the other hand, is a two-handed experience. There is no one hand, pick it up by the tail. Not happening. So you can put one hand here, and you can lift it up pretty easily. It's a heavy model. This is not a playset. Don't, go flying it around. You're probably going to break it. So when it comes to picking something up and flying it around as a spaceship like a kid might, yeah, the $140 set is better. And of course, the $140 set even has some spring-loaded shooters at the front here. So on top here, when you push this down, they will go flying off. So that's another play function that this set has that this set really doesn't have. But there are still some play functions and features that the $600 model does much better than the $140 set. I'll start off by showing you guys how easy it is to access the cockpit on both sets. First, on the cheaper model, you literally just pull up on this piece here and you're in. And on the more expensive model, you just pull the whole thing off. So you can see here that there is a pretty stark difference in design for the windshield. And in my opinion, I think the cheaper $140 Razor Crest does a much better job of representing the windshield in a nice complete shape than the $600 set, where you have kind of a sticker in the middle of a couple of prints, and it ends up not all being the exact same shape, just creating a bit of a weird front to the windshield. Looking inside the cockpit is where we're going to start to see some of the major differences between these sets, and with the singular control panel on the $140 Razor Crest, it leaves some to be desired, seeing as the $10 Razor Crest has the exact same control panel, literally no extra control panels for an extra $130. Meanwhile, for $600, you get one of the most dense and detailed control panel areas in a LEGO Star Wars set I have ever seen. There's a lot going on there. It's pretty cool looking. You also get a darker red chair versus the bright red chairs in the cheaper model, which just feel more playful, and the more accurate look, of course, being the dark red look in the UCS model, just looks better in my opinion anyway. So not really sure why they went with regular red over dark red. You also have a unique seat here for Mando that can actually swivel versus the standalone seats here. They just don't even move. They're like the two rear seats in the cockpit of this set. You also do have that little ball that Grogu picks up. Not going to have that in either of the other smaller sets. So if we look behind the chairs, you'll notice there is no second room, unlike on the $600 model, but they did still work in a small feature where you can lift up this thing, and there's a couple clips for Din Djarin's weapons to go on. So that's nice, but it's really nothing compared to what you get on the $600 model with a full doorway that can just open right up, and you can have your characters walk through into the back section of the Razor Crest. We've got some frog eggs, a little clip to hold a weapon or something, and then we also have the ladderway, which you can't really see because it's a little bit dark, but there's a ladder in there that goes down to the bottom section of the Razor Crest. Much better than literally just a small weapons rack in the smaller Razor Crest, and you can literally pull this whole section out to use it if you want as well. So it's quite the difference in experience. It's a better play experience and display experience as far as accuracy goes between the two Razor Crests. Like, this big model really takes the cake there. On the top of both Razor Crests is an escape pod. They both mix into the design very well, but they're one of the better play features on each set. So removing them is super simple. On the smaller model here, you just pull it out, and I've got Greef Karga in there. On the larger model here, same story, literally just pull it straight out and it removes itself. The big differences here is this one actually has a window. This one is open air, like straight through. Anyway, the more expensive one is a little bit bigger, but they do accomplish the same thing with Greef Karga in the right one and the Mithril on the left one. They both work the same, just one looks a little bit better than the other. Now, when it comes to the boarding ramps on each set, you have a bit of a different experience. On the cheaper set, you have these Technic hinges that go 1, 2, and 3 and you're down. And on the more expensive set, you kind of pull down and then you hit this point of resistance. We have to push a little bit harder to get the full thing to drop down, which I really like and prefer. It feels more realistic. It looks more realistic, of course. And I really like the way the ramp looks compared to this cheaper set. Now on this more expensive Razor Crest, you can take your blurg and walk him up and into the body of the ship. He does fit. It's a bit tight. You can have some pieces get in your way, but he will fit up and into there. Versus the smaller set, of course, where no animal or object is really included to walk into there. So the blurg doesn't even really fit. But you could, of course, have a minifig walk up and into the Razor Crest through that back ramp. So that's possible too. Another shared feature between these two sets is the side ramp. On the $140 set, just pull it down super easily. I think it looks pretty good when it's down. On the UCS model though, it's a bit of a different story where you have this small tile that pops out that you kind of have to pick at to get it to pull down. Then you pull it down and then you drop down this separate section like so. I do not think this looks as good as the simple look on the cheaper model. Now on the smaller model, we have something that the bigger model doesn't have, and that is a weapons rack inside for your spring-loaded shooters. The side panels also open nicely on these hinges. That's something that the larger model also doesn't do. And if we flip this around, we have the other side panel that drops down. This actually has a bed for Dinjarin, and there's some nice sticker detailing on the wall there. But yeah, the bed is something that's also in the UCS model. The only difference is the bed here can only be accessed by pulling up this section and looking down into the set. It's pretty dark in there. I would say the UCS bed in general is a bit of a classier look than the bed that we have on our smaller $140 model. I just don't like the colors as much on this one. But because the bed is embedded so deeply, you can actually pull it out to get your Mandalorian on there, and then you reveal a little bit of wiring underneath. And there's the water bottle I lost down there. It's supposed to attach to that stud above the pillow. However, it's a bit difficult to get out when the only way to get that thing out now is to flip this entire ship upside down. Not happening. So when it comes to accessing the rest of the interior on each of these models for the Playscale set, you just have to pull these side panels down. It gives you really easy access to the interior. Unfortunately, the only other stuff on the interior is the characters in Carbonite on the right there. We'll pull them out and put them aside to compare to the ones we have within the UCS set. Getting inside of the UCS Razor Crest is a bit more of a chore. Removing the engines, they pop right off the top, set them aside. You have this front panel piece, got to pull that off, set it aside. It's honestly kind of intriguing how nicely everything lays on there, yet is so like easily taken off. It doesn't degrade the look of the model to have the ability to remove these things, which is pretty cool. So with everything removed, you have this top-down access to the inside. These side panels, they don't pop out like the ones on the smaller set, which makes it a little bit more difficult to fit your hand in. Peering inside the interior of the $600 Razor Crest, we get some pretty cool stuff with a baby on board sticker. Down to the left, we have some Imperial crates and one of those blue cookies from the show. We have the Boba Fett armor, weapons, lights hanging from the ceiling. It's awesome. Now there are a few removable sections, including this one here, which is a big weapons rack with 2 openable doors and tons of weapons inside. That's amazing. You can see it's got its own special spot right there. You just pop it down and put it into place. You don't have to worry about it. Now on the other side of the interior, we have a couple other removable sections. The first one being this, which allows you to put characters into Carbonite. So we can place the Mythrol minifigure inside of that and then place it right back inside of the Razor Crest. And then we have the actual characters in Carbonite in this set, and we'll just pull the entire assembly out to show you guys. So the smaller standalone bricks are the ones from the $140 Razor Crest, and we get much larger, nicer, more detailed looking pieces for the $600 model. And instead of having the red kind of as part of the sticker on top, they actually have a printed control panel on the side with a green light. I think that looks really cool as part of the characters in Carbonite. And the character for the right side here is the exact same. The characters in Carbonite on the left here are different, however. I believe in the original Razor Crest, that was the Mythrol, but in the newer Razor Crest, you don't get the Mythrol in Carbonite, you get a different character. Another pretty obvious difference in what you get for your money when you buy the $600 set is a crazy level of detail and accuracy. However, the $140 set is no slouch. It does represent a lot of the angles and curves that the Razor Crest has very nicely. The UCS set just does it on such a greater level. It's hard to look past, right? But there are some interesting things that the smaller set does. It does use stickers on the engines, which I think provide a better level of detail. However, I think the engines on the UCS version still look better. Another interesting difference is like this big barrel piece at the back of the smaller set in dark gray versus the dark tan color they use for the plates on the larger set's engines. Just a difference in color there I think is interesting alone, let alone the different building techniques, obviously. Another interesting difference is the accenting color for these sets. The dark tan color for the smaller set versus the yellow color for the larger set. And at that, what the smaller set doesn't do is mix right up next to each other, really, the bricks and the stickers versus the bricks and the stickers for the yellow. They just butt up right next to each other, and you can see the difference in color pretty obviously, which doesn't look great. So I'm not a huge fan of that on the UCS model. It's one of the things I like the least about it, but it still generally looks better than it does on the smaller model. The difference on the engine intake for these two models are insane. So are the angles and building techniques for the larger model, just as a generality. Plus, we also have much better looking main cannons for the larger set versus the smaller set. It's just no contest. And the landing gear is also a place where the larger model just takes the cake. Love saying that in these types of videos. You have just really kind of dumbed down landing gear on the smaller model. Now, of course, it won't be retractable on either model, so it may as well look good, right? For the LEGO Razor Crest models, you have three pretty distinct categories for displaying the sets. First up, we have the desktop category. Literally something you would just put on your desk at work or something to remind you of something you like at home. As far as the $140 set goes, though, it's something you can actually put on a shelf and add into your normal collection. However, if you're looking to spend $600, that's not going to fit on a normal shelf, unless you have some really big shelves. It won't fit on my shelves, and I have reasonably big shelves. It is something that you need a table for, or a shelf custom built for it or something, right? It is not a standard display set. It definitely belongs in its own category in that regard. And something else it does as far as display goes is it does include a display plaque, a little bit of extra information about the Razor Crest, and the ability to place your minifigures alongside it so that you can display them with the UCS Razor Crest. It's also one of the biggest LEGO Star Wars sets ever, so it is something that really does grab your attention as far as putting it on display in a room. It's definitely going to catch people's eyes if that's what you're looking for. So when it comes down to it, which of these LEGO Star Wars Razor Crest should you buy? Well, I did say one of these is a complete stay away, and I think that's the Microfighter, the $10 Razor Crest. I guess unless you're buying it as a gift for kids, I really do not think it's worth buying. If you want that Mandalorian and Beskar armor, he does come in multiple other cheap LEGO Star Wars sets. So I really just don't see a great reason to spend $10 on the Razor Crest Microfighter with so many other great options out there. So that leaves us two Razor Crests to pick from for most buyers. I would say most people should probably be eyeing the $140 Razor Crest. It is a fantastic model of the set for the price. It obviously doesn't compare to the UCS set as far as the level of detail and the size. You're just not getting that. But for the price, it's excellent. I kind of think of it like the UCS AT-AT to the $160 AT-AT. They're both really good for their price, and I think the same thing essentially applies here. You're getting really good sets for your money at both levels. Definitely the figures in this set, maybe could have used a little bit extra there, but I think the same can be said even for the UCS one, despite the exclusivity of some of these characters. Ultimately, unless you have the space and unless you absolutely love the Mandalorian and the design of the Razor Crest, you probably shouldn't be spending $600 on a set. It's a top 1% of LEGO Star Wars sets as far as like price and piece count go. So you got to be a really big fan of something to want to go out and spend that much money on something that needs its own extra display area that's not going to fit on your normal shelves. This is something that I feel like just meshes right into the normal collection for most LEGO Star Wars fans versus this at $600. I hope you enjoyed my deep dive in comparison on the $10, $140, and $600 Razor Crest. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Let me know which Razor Crest you'll be picking up in the comments section below. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button.